My real problem, I think, with ZVZ is that you always have to have Zerg music during it. And of the 3 races of music, I think it is the most inferior. So really, that's my only reason I dislike ZVZ.
It's bad, though. It's not terrible music.
But let's be honest.
It's
Terran music is OP.
Yeah, it's true. That's
All
true.
right.
You know what? I hope in Heart of the Swarm, it'd be cool if they did some remixes of some of the Brood War scores, too, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Not necessarily bring back the originals. I mean, those sound great, too. But, you know, just kind of do a little bit of a sort of a remix situation. That'd be kind of fun.
It would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Liz,
down here in the bottom left-hand corner of Tal'Darim Ultra, we have our blue Zerg player from Acer, winner of game number 1 and their ace. It is Nerchio. And his opponent down in the bottom right-hand corner. On Tal'Darim Ultra, we have our pink Zerg player from Team SCV Life. It is Revival. And have we ever really sat back and thought, TSL is Team SCV Life, and they're majority Zerg players at the moment.
Yeah.
If we ever is that like commentary and irony over what it is to actually be an SCV in their life, their daily life, or is that
maybe they're just infested now?
Yeah.
I guess. But here's the thing: back when TSL started, they had a lot of Terran players. Think about it. They had. Let's see. Let's go through the list. They had TSL Alive, TSL Rain, TSL Puma. Let's see, TSL Clyde.
And then TSL Pult joined.
Yeah, TSL Pult joined later. So there was a time where TSL was actually known as a very Terran-heavy team.
Yeah.
And they only had a couple Zergs. They had Fruit Dealer, basically, was one of the only Zergs
That's right.
on TSL for a while, actually. And then as far as Protoss players go, let's see, who did they have? They had JYP.
Yep.
He was on there. And, yeah, it almost seems like TSL is kind of this team that takes these players and they kind of, and this doesn't apply to everybody obviously, but you know, they take these players, sort of bring them up, get them their start or whatever, they gain success and then they leave.
Aww.
That's kind of how it feels like TSL's kind of been the only. But we're starting to see that change. I mean, they did have Inori join the team. He's really good. He was on FXO. They've got Pult.
Yeah, Pult kind of went the other way, too. I mean, he won the Super Championship as Pult Prime and eventually became Optimus Prime for a little while.
And they're still raising up some good Zerg players, too. I mean, Symbol, of course. All
Symbol's so good.
Symbol, Shine, Revival,
Hyun.
and Hyun are kind of the 4 awesome Zerg players on TSL right now. And it doesn't look like they're going anywhere anytime soon, so...
And Nerchio actually ended up opening with a speed first, and he's going to try and take an expansion behind that, put some pressure on his opponent. Yep. Of course, as we can see, Revival's already producing 6 Lings and 2 Queens, decided to go for his gas income quite a bit later.
Yeah, well, I mean, Hatch first is kind of the current standard in the ZVZ metagame on most maps in most regions of the world. So it's not too surprising at all to see Revival go for that. Nerchio doing a style that was largely regarded as kind of the safest, best style in ZVZ for a long time, opening, you know, gas first into a speedling expand, just because it keeps you safe and it also gives you the option to be very aggressive early in the game if you'd like to be. Nerchio just kind of poking a little bit with these Zerglings, not going to really be able to get a lot of damage done, especially once the Spine Crawler finishes. And there is a Queen there too, so things should be pretty stable for Revival, and we'll probably see that Baneling Nest in the near future as well.
And it looks like Nerchio has been annoying enough, though, to force Revival into making a bunch of Lings, so both the players are actually even on workers at the moment, so things pretty much evened up as they can be. Hatch first, of course, the defensive Baneling Nest being put down for Revival. No real surprise there at all. Nerchio, though, hasn't really tipped his hand quite yet, making another round of 8 Lings, though.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the normal thing with that. I mean, Baneling Nests are something that you kind of need, but the one of the reasons that the 14 gas, 14 pool, you know, Speedling Expand is kind of falling out of popularity a little bit is because the ability that you have with it to go into a Baneling all-in isn't really that valuable anymore because Queens are so fast, and because Overlords are faster, and because Queens have their range upgrade. Both of those two things shut down all-ins in ZVZ pretty hard these days. So players have just kind of sat back and started playing a little bit more passively. Oh, nice pickoff by Nerchio, actually. Focusing down those drones. He gets 2 of them. Not bad at all.
Yeah, very well done. And looks like he'll... Oh, wow! Can't believe he even saving that Zergling. It was at 1 hit point before it regained another health. So It is alive. 2 banelings coming up for Revival at the moment, though. Not really pressuring with anything, just kind of sitting back and being defensive. And finally, Nerchio going to be driven away just down to 1 Zergling, but actually ends up taking out an extra 50 resources than it was worth in destroying 1 baneling.
Yeah, not bad, man. I mean, he got his money's worth out of that Zergling. Certainly that was worth the 25 minerals, right? It was not bad. And the larva. So in ZVZ right now, you know, we do see players getting that baneling nest, but generally not being quite as aggressive with it anymore. We kind of see the Zergling baneling phase, but it's moving very quickly into the mid game now, where we have a kind of a wide variety of things. The roaches are still very popular. They're very good on Tal'Darim altars, so probably going to see a player do that. But there are other options too. Right now, Revival is actually getting 2 Evo chambers, so he may actually skip a Roach Warren altogether, go for lots of Ling upgrades, and then go into heavier Infestor play later on, and that usually ends up leading to Ultralisks. I was talking just actually last hour during my show about this with EG Machine, and it's his favorite style right now to go Ling, Infestor, Ultra, and ZVZ.
And yeah, that can work out pretty well, especially as both these players are intending to go for the pretty late game here. As we can see, Destructible Rocks being knocked down as both player intends to take a third here momentarily. Roach Warren coming up for Revival as he is sitting on those 1/1 upgrades. Excuse me. So that will benefit any sort of roaches and also infested Terrans that pop out here in the near future.
Yep, that's right. And double upgrades with roaches has been something that is also pretty popular these days. Getting that lair so that he can get the roach speed pretty quickly to Revival. Kind of following suit, not really varying things up all that much. Does he have a Roach Warren quite yet, Revival?
No, don't think. Revival does. Nerchio does
Nerchio,
not. So.
For some reason I'm getting the colors confused. Yeah, okay.
No problem. But Nerchio is on layer tech, and looks like it's going to be a Spire. With 4 gas, he's going to be able to save up to a pretty huge amount of Mutalisks pretty early on. So this could certainly do a lot of damage to Revival. Depending on the amount of anti-air that Revival will have available. We'll see if he goes into those infestors pretty quickly. Looks like he's just trying to produce a few roaches to stay safe for now. Nerchio not going to be able to get a ton of damage done with these banelings.
Yeah, I would imagine that Revival probably is going to put down that infestation pit pretty quickly. Nerchio kind of breaking away from his normal ZVZ style. He's usually the guy that likes to go for, you know, mass roaches attacking a bunch of different angles. But here he comes with some banelings.
Yeah, and the Roach is doing a very nice job of just zoning all of those out.
Did nothing.
Yeah, it looks like he may be able to get a cancel on this hatchery, and he does, but he loses a lot of stuff thrown at his opponent. As we can see, a 17 supply difference between these 2 players. But critically, as okay, we see actually a couple of Overseers, 2 of them, as a matter of fact, trying to get a bead on his opponent, but they haven't seen that Spire quite yet. Nerchio is going to finish up his base well before his opponent does.
Yep, so getting that cancel was definitely worth it. I mean, he did have to use some banelings to do it, but the good news is that he distracted those roaches long enough with the banelings that even though he didn't really kill anything with them, he still was able to deny that 3rd base and kind of take his at the same time. So pretty good trade for Nerchio.
Yeah, and that Changeling does bounce in there, and it sees the Spire, so immediately a few Spore Crawlers are put up for Revival, and he gets throwing down the Infestation Pit. Not just that, though, he did put up a Hydralisk Den as well.
Yep, and this has been pretty common in ZVZ as well. A lot of Zerg players are just kind of working some Hydras into that late game tech and trying to get that good sort of perfect mix of Roach, Hydra, and Infestor, and they have Banelings, and they have Zerglings. So you see a much more varied composition in later game ZVZ armies these days than you used to. It's not just Roach and something else, or just Mutas and something else. It's a large variety at once, so it's cool. It's kind of showing us that the ZVZ matchup can be a lot more robust than people kind of sometimes think.
And Revival did just show Pneumatized Carapace there as that very fast Overlord was just flying through his opponent's base. Revival has not decided to re-expand quite yet. There he goes. 3rd hatchery coming down. He decided to invest in his units, invest in the amount of forces that he would have on the field. So he's backed by 11 workers, but his army that's out is actually quite staggeringly powerful.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough if it comes to a straight-up fight for Nerchio to win that, but that's really not his plan anyway. He just wants to keep doing this, keep denying that 3rd base, keep being annoying with those Mutalisks, and now we have the Roach Warren going down for Nerchio. So he's also getting his Infestor upgrades as well, and this is kind of what Zerg players do these days. I'm actually a little bit surprised that he made that many Mutas. Usually it's only about like 6 to 10 at the most that you make when you do this sort of thing where you're just harassing for a little bit. So he's going to stay kind of on that number, And behind all this, while he has this breathing room that the Mutalisks are giving him, he's going to be able to go for that stronger later game composition of Roach Infestor and then eventually into HiveTech.
And he forces yet another cancel. He's going to lose
third time.
a good portion of these Mutas. But yeah, I mean, Revival's been sitting on 2 base for a very long time now. That is a pretty huge resource investment there, but it takes out a lot of the energy of the Infestors, cancels the hatchery one more time, and we'll see if Nerchio wants to pop back in, maybe with some Banelings in a bit. No, just running away with those Zerglings. As we can see, though, pretty good Spine Crawler wall up the front. Nerchio comfortably sitting on 3 bases, but his opponent does have a much larger army than he does. Much larger army.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, the other thing, too, is it's a little bit surprising. Again, you know, I mentioned this, that he made a few extra Mutalisks. The kind of big job that Mutalisks have right now is kind of drawing the energy out of the Infestors. You know, you attack with just a couple of them, make them fungal inefficiently, and that's another one of the reasons why Zerg players are adding on some Hydralisks with this, too, so that if that small group of Mutalisks comes in, you don't necessarily need to use as much of the Infestor energy. You know, I think we only saw like 1 or 2 fungals maximum from Revival right there. That's not so bad. The Hydralisks kind of took care of the rest, and this is a pretty scary army coming across the map right now for our pink Zerg player.
Yeah, it is. We're looking at a close number of Infestors, 7-5 in favor of Nerchio, but it's 13 Roaches to 22, and then add on an additional 11 Hydralisks on top of that, and you have the makings of a pretty stout army from Revival.
Yes, you do. And Nerchio sending out some Zerglings to try to pick off some of those Hydras. Doesn't look like it's going to work, though.
No, unfortunately not, but he's actually sending forward a small token force of Roaches, nothing really to surround as well. Oh, and nice, some of them getting fungled down and immediately destroyed Revival, taking a big advantage there.
Yep, it's a trap.
It's a tarp.
He sprung that trap, trapped some Roaches with fungal growth, but look at this. We've got a Zergling counterattack coming across the map from Nerchio. If he gets into that 3rd base with not a lot of defense there, Revival could be hurting, and yeah, that's only 5 Roaches that we can see. Oh, this is good too. He is checking for that 4th base, which he does find.
Yeah, it looks like he's just trying to take that out, and does, forces the cancel there, but immediately a 2nd one is put down because it does get 150 hit points as soon as a structure gets placed down. Right. So you buy yourself a little bit of survivability if you do that, but he does force a cancel once again.
Yep, very true. So HiveTech on the way now for Nerchio. Love to see what he decides to do as far as that goes, and HiveTech for Revival too. So we are moving into a little bit later game ZVZ, and this is kind of a situation where players just kind of have to feel things out. There's no like prescribed method for this stage of
Not
ZVZ.
A lot of precedent, no.
Yeah, I mean, beyond 3 bases, you're kind of on your own to a certain extent. You kind of have to make decisions on the fly. And, you know, we have things that players tend to do more often, but there's no, no standard. There's no real ground rules right now as far as later game ZVZ, which is one of the reasons why I like it so much, because you kind of just get to see pure StarCraft 2 being played, you know?
It's kind of the Wild West. And oh, 3 Infestors going down right away. They do launch a little bit of a fungal growth. Another one completely misses, though. So Nerchio's Infestor advantage was neutralized very quickly. A few units trying to wrap around the outside, though. And we can see from the supply that Revival had a lot more resources banked and is immediately replacing this army that he loses with a staggering amount of Roaches. He will eventually get cleaned up here, but the damage was kind of already done.
Well, because of the upgrading by Nerchio, his gas count was really low. He can make a lot of Zerglings right now, and he is making some Roaches and Infestors, but overall, it looks like Revival's going to be able to make a lot more gas units right at this particular second. Here comes a huge amount of Roaches across the map from Revival, and what are the upgrades on those Roaches right now?
2-2.
2-2. Okay, so it is 2-2 against 1-2. Only +1 carapace right now for our blue Zerg player from Team Acer.
And that could make a difference. Unfortunately, though, that's too good of a spine crawler roll, and Revival's not going to be able to make his way up that.
Yeah, if Revival can go down and kill the 3rd base, though, that'll basically end the game right there as well. And I think he has scouted the upper left base of Nerchio as well. Yeah, he does have some Overseers there, so he can also send some Zerglings across to harass that a little bit as well. I got to say, though, Nerchio's still definitely in this game, you know, despite losing some very expensive units. He's got 3 bases solidly. His 4th is kind of starting to sort of roll in with the income. and he's still got a good army too. His upgrades are also quite decent.
Yeah, in about 90 seconds, he's going to have an advantage for about 2 in-game minutes where he'll have vastly superior upgrades to his opponent. Now, the problem is that since he's dumped so much into that, and because he's sitting on 12 additional workers, up until that point, it was a basis killed, not canceled, Revival is going to have an advantage going into each engagement on pure numbers because of his lack of workers.
And I believe when I was looking at some of the ZVZ stats for these guys, that Revival was on the lower end, if I remember right. So ZVZ, maybe not one of his strongest matchups. I mean, I don't think a lot of players would say that their mirror is their strong matchup, but he's looking pretty good this game, that's for sure.
He seems very tentative. There was a point earlier where Nerchio had 2 Mutalisks and 11 Zerglings, and that was going up against Infestors and Hydras and Roaches, and Revival could have killed him, honestly. But he just didn't know it. I mean, he wasn't comfortable at that moment. It looks like he's going to engage right now. They are actually on even upgrades. Still 10 more seconds until +3 weapons finishes up, so that is going to give time for Revival to be able to engage us without being down in upgrades. But as we can see, the Great Concave does go to Nerchio, and he forces Revival back, so he wins a very key engagement there.
Yeah, that's huge. Oh, and then Infestor getting taken out as well. Nerchio pushing back across the map as fast as he possibly can. 25 more Roaches on the way. Revival needing to fungal there to delay, and it looks like finally Nerchio does turn around. Look at that, Revival sending out a fake drop, I've got a feeling. I don't think there's anything in those Overlords, are there?
No, there are not.
No, there are not. Okay, yeah. So maybe just trying to mess with his opponent a little bit there.
Yeah, it could very well be. 5th base coming up for Nerchio at the moment. The 4th one just saturated, though, for Revival, as we can see. So he actually has a 2nd Hydralisk den, I guess, in case the first one goes down or he has to give up his main. I was wondering about that. I freaked out. I was like, did I miss a big drop? No.
Might
he just
be
has
a bit
2
of
of them.
Mistake, too. Players do go on autopilot, but here's our big ZVZ Roach fight. Hydra's in the back trying to fire, doing the DPS that they can, but with those fungal growths, I don't think it's going to, well, I don't know if it's going to be enough. Looks like he does barely push him back.
Yeah.
So close. A lot of those Roaches in the front at very, very low health right now.
That's right, but the effect of those Hydras sitting in the back, outranging those Roaches, just cannot be overstated. I mean, that's such a big advantage there. Revival actually has a lot of resources left on this. He could put a few drones back there and continue mining. I'm kind of surprised that he doesn't. But as we can see, I mean, Revival with those Hydras winning that engagement pretty well. And now his 3-3 finished up, so for the next 130 seconds, he's got an upgrade advantage.
Yep, that's right. And wow, just Hydralisk dens all over the place. We've got our 3rd one being built this game, I believe, right now by Nerchio. He's like, you've got 2 Hydra dens. I want one too.
Yeah, those look pretty cool.
Yep,
those units were pretty awesome.
That's right, they're pretty good. I've heard they're going to be faster and Heart of the Swarm.
With an upgrade off of Hive, which makes me okay with it. So,
I want them to be. Well, I've got a whole speech about how to change the Roach and the Hydra, but we're going to skip that right now because here comes a big fight. Decent concave for Nerchio there.
Yeah, great concave for Nerchio, but it doesn't play against him, but it's not as bad as it could be for Revival because he has those 6-range Hydras sitting in the back, and they're able to kind of outrange the side of that concave. So he does significant damage to Nerchio there and finds himself up another 25 supply.
Yep, that's right. Decent fight 1. Oh, that helps too. More Infested Terran action. We saw Nerchio do it last game. Revival trying it out this game, barely not killing that hatchery.
Yeah, didn't control his units to go ahead and target fire down the hatch. As you saw, he actually took out the extractor at the same time. The 500 hit points there would have actually been the difference it would have taken to take out the hatchery. So a little bit of a missed opportunity for Revival, but he does shut down the mining quite effectively there.
Makes sense.
400 units killed in this game so far. That's insane.
Wow, well, it is ZVZ, man. I mean, it's not like TVT back in the days of the, super Blue Flame Hellions, but it's close. Nice fungal to trap some of those Roaches, and Revival needs to be careful not to let his, not to let his Hydras get too far ahead.
Yeah, and it looks like the Hydras now finally are sitting back a little bit. Good fungals over and over again for Nerchio. I have to say, he's actually reduced those Roaches down very, very much, but the DPS of the Hydras was proving to be so effective around the sides, but Nerchio once again fighting this back. This is a ridiculous back and forth ZVZ.
Wow, no kidding. It just seems like whenever the fights happen, Nerchio always seems to get a little bit better position. That last fight that happened on that high ground, he did have certainly the better concave, but Revival just had more damage packed into that small force. But as we saw in that battle, the concave did certainly come in handy there.
And looks like a few more Infested Terrans just about to pop up. They should be able to finish off this hatchery here momentarily if they go right after it. Are they actually going after workers first? They are, but they could take out the hatchery, and there it goes.
Yep, that's right. Not even worrying about the drones. is TSL.RevivaL. Just wants to make sure rather that that there aren't more bases to get larva from, to get more queens from, and mining, of course.
Look at the map control for RevivaL at the moment, though.
It's a lot of overlords.
He sees everything.
No
I mean,
kidding.
really using that speed to its greatest advantage.
Yeah, not bad at all. I mean, if it is ZVZ and they're not going muted, might as well just kind of put those overlords absolutely everywhere. You might lose one, every once in a while, but it's totally worth it.
All right, so we're about to cross the 30-minute mark here in the ZVZ, and Nerchio starting to kind of close the vice grip a bit. Wants to start cutting the map even a little bit more than half. Oh, a very nice job, actually. These infested Terrans dropping in. The drones were pulled to the side, but moved back as soon as the roaches started moving forward. That did help RevivaL in killing a few of those. As we can see, he's killed 21 workers in this game. Kind
of a bold expansion to be taking for Nerchio. I mean, it is kind of cool that he can just rally right from there, up to the front lines, but seems like a dangerous base to take with infestors on the high ground like that. We'll have to see how it pans out.
I mean, he's able to assault the Spinecrawler wall without any units in position as well, so hardly any roaches went down for RevivaL, and the Spinecrawlers are all taken out. That's a pretty big loss for Nerchio.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's more drones. It's 100 minerals per Spinecrawler, so it can be very expensive to replace all that kind of stuff. RevivaL, not in the worst situation ever right now. Both of these guys actually looking like they have a chance to win this game.
It's pretty even right now.
Yeah, RevivaL's the one doing the aggression right now, and will it pay off?
All right, looks like, unfortunately, this base is going to get denied here in the top right-hand corner. Yep, RevivaL forced to cancel that, and he does lose the drone that was constructing it, so he's going to be getting mined out pretty quickly here. Third base has been up for a while. Once again, Nerchio finding a pretty decent concave, but the units are continuing to stream in for RevivaL, as Hydralisk were a little bit behind there. Not too many Hydralisks out for Nerchio at the moment. In fact, only 2. But once again, with the superior positioning in concave, is the DPS of these Hydras going to be enough? No, once again, Nerchio winning the fight.
Yep, that's right. I mean, when it comes down to Roach Hydra, you need to have enough roaches so that your Hydras can kind of stay alive to do the damage. And with all the infestors being added on by RevivaL, he just didn't have that big, strong core army. And now we're seeing Nerchio play ZVZ like I think Nerchio prefers to play it. Just lots of roaches, a lot of different places on the map. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see him start to break off little groups of them here and there to go try to harass expansions. He usually does that sort of thing.
And once again, the infestors coming back, driving down some infested Terrans. Doesn't look like they're going to do too much damage, but they did draw a lot of units off of the line.
Yep, that's right. So if we look at the supplies, it is 165 to 152, I believe. So a little bit of a lead right now for RevivaL. Random Spinecrawler just kind of being like, I want to be in the army.
I wanted to be a unit.
Yep.
The drone wasn't very smart when it
You're
grew
a
up.
building.
Couldn't become a hatchery.
At least he's a building that has, an attack function.
Yeah.
And he can get up and walk around. He is mobile. He basically just takes a long time to burrow. And that's
basically a unit, let's be honest. I mean,
more or less.
It doesn't serve any other purpose.
I don't know. It could, if you put 2 of them up next to each other, and have them both like point up, you could hang a nice hammock between them.
You could, yes.
Be very relaxing.
Be very gross because you'd have the tentacles there, but I guess that'd be okay.
You'd just make sure that you tied it in a way that it didn't like drip on your hammock.
I suppose so, yeah. I don't know, it'd just like move around whenever it wanted to, though. I guess if a roach ever attacked you while you were sleeping on the hammock, it would have your back because it would just slap it, but...
Probably. That's kind of what they end up doing. So, and more infested Terrans coming in. The infestor does go down, but that's going to be more annoyance to deal with for RevivaL.
Energy versus energy forces a fungal out of those once again.
Actually attacking his own hatchery with those roaches.
Oh, interesting. Huh.
Nerchio, don't do that. That's your building.
That's bad. All right. Well, it looks like we're going to force an engagement here in the middle of the map. RevivaL, though, getting ready with a fair number of forces, trying to split them up so we can get a little bit better concave here. We'll see if that better positioning can go to Nerchio. Once again, RevivaL actually swinging around the few forces around the outside, so the concave isn't really better for any one player or the other. Now, finally, the rest of the units filtering in. Nerchio wasn't engaging with everything at the same time, but the infestors just continuing to dish out damage on both sides. And Nerchio looks like he is doing a decent job of holding back forces, but now it's kind of that tipping point. His opponent is just reinforcing way faster than he can.
Yeah, he's been able to keep those bases going. I mean, he's not attacking his hatchery with his roaches, and that generally helps out pretty well. And oh man, huge fungal on all those units, doing a ton of damage to that. And RevivaL looks like he may just maybe be able to get a base out of this.
That's right, and now finds himself up 75 supply, so
that's pretty big.
Yeah, Acer's ace came in first of all, won a game, but not looking so hot right now.
Yep. And Revival winning the first ZVZ of the day, it looks like here. Drones burrowing, but that's not going to matter too much because they don't really have a lot of safe places to go back to. A little bit of a counterattack here by Nerchio. Oh, look at that, all those burrow drones hidden underneath the ground.
Forces a cancel, but an immediate burrow from Revival there, so we can keep that drone alive and pop it back up here in a second. But now, Nerchio really only working off of one mining base. He's down to just 28 drones, so it's going to be very difficult for him to try and find anything to get started once again.
I mean, if you look at the larva count right now, Nerchio has a ton of larva built up, but he just doesn't have the resources to spend it on. And in ZVZ, in this situation, if you ever fall back, or fall behind rather, on a unit production like this, it's going to be really tough to catch up because your opponent still going to be making units as much as or fast as he was before, whereas you will suddenly be really slowed down.
And Revival now walking up with an 83 supply advantage. Still great upgrades. Hasn't moved to Tier 3 tech quite yet, though. Hasn't felt the need to do so. Nerchio just going to lose those spine crawlers over at the back. These Hydralisk trying to heal up at least a little bit underneath the ground, but Revival just going to push his way forward.
Yep. Da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Look out, Infestors!
Da-da-da!
He's going to pop up and kill them.
Oh no! Infestors! He does manage to drop off one fungal growth and will be able to get a second because he got this a little bit far enough away, but unfortunately Nerchio going to lose the rest of his defensive forces there. Now down by 100 supply and falling.
Yep, and Nerchio continues to be kind of pushed around the map right now. Some Hydralisks randomly hiding underground. Just kind of happens, and yeah, this base looking like it's going to be going down again. Those overseers are like, guys, we saw the craziest thing earlier. There were these roaches, and they were attacking their own hatchery. Oh, all right, we feel sorry for that hatchery. We're just going to let that live for a little bit longer. But yeah, I mean, huge lead right now for Revival. I don't think this is going to end up being a winnable situation for Acer.Nerchio. Unfortunately, he looked so strong last game, but Acer is going to have to count on some of their other players here, I think.
And he was able to win a few key engagements in this game as well. I mean, Revival did a really nice job macroing, and there it is. G&G and TSL ties things up here 1-1 in this best of 9.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing with that game is that we saw Nerchio